Welcome to the Jessie Knits podcast. My name is Jessie, and this is the very first episode in a new knitting podcast. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2014. You can find me on Instagram. My username there is Jessie Does Stuff. On Ravelry, I go as Hokie Knits. That's Hokie Knits. And so welcome. This episode I'm hoping to keep relatively short, but you just never know. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself and my knitting journey, and then we'll talk about some things. So I first and foremost am a longtime reader. I'm a huge fan of books. I read lots and lots and lots, as much as I can. And I want to say about 2.5 years ago, I started a book blog. And about a year and a half ago, through the book blog community, I discovered cross stitch and became absolutely addicted to cross stitch. Then I just decided to tackle knitting. It's something that I've always been interested in. I didn't grow up with particularly creative family members. My mom is not creative, and I lost my grandparents when I was relatively young, so nobody really showed me any sort of crafting, and so I've sort of discovered this on my own. And so I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and I bought some bamboo needles and just some cheap yarn, worsted weight yarn from Walmart, and I gave it a try. And let me tell you, I hated it. I struggled with it severely. I couldn't get my hands to do what they're supposed to. I'm left-handed to begin with. And so, most of the videos are from right-handed people, and sometimes there can be differences there. And so I struggled severely. It turns out I'm a really, really tight knitter, particularly on bamboo needles. And so I put knitting down because I was like, you know what? Fine, it's not for everybody. It's not for me. I'm just going to stick to cross stitch and reading, and we'll call it a day. But I guess it's my personality. It sat there in my brain like, why can't I figure this out? Why can't I get my hands to do what I'm supposed to? Why am I losing to a pair of needles and some yarn? Like, it frustrated me to no end. And so I picked it back up. Only this time I grabbed some Boyer aluminum needles, and it was a lot better. My hands didn't hurt as much because I was still knitting relatively tightly, but it didn't stick to the needles as much. Like the bamboo needles hold the yarn so close, and so I wasn't fighting with it as much. And I got some better yarn to work with, and I figured it out. The very first finished object that I had was a seed stitch headband. It's just a little headband. I don't have it here with me, unfortunately, so I can't show you that. I'll show it to you next week, or next podcast anyway. And so I got the hang of knitting and purling and that sort of thing. So, and then I progressed and I finished the Mira's cowl. I can't remember. The designer is Mira. I want to say Blackburn, but don't quote me on that. Which is, it's knit in the round, and it's, so there's sections of purling and sections of knitting, so you end up with stockinette and reverse stockinette sections. And so it helped me recognize what those different stitches look like. And so yeah, I only have a few projects under my belt. I'm relatively new. Like I said, I think I only started here knitting seriously probably in December, and I'm still really slow. I learned English style because that's what they teach on the YouTube videos that I found. And so that's that. And now, a few months later, I'm absolutely addicted. Like, I don't want to go to work. I just want to sit at home and knit. I take knitting with me everywhere I go. I am stashing like a fiend. Probably shouldn't, as I am, but I just can't help it. I want all the things. I want all the yarn. And watching podcasts gives me serious yarn envy. And so then I go and I'm like, oh, what's $100? Just it's so silly. But nonetheless, I'm growing my stash, and I think that that's part of the allure to knitting is getting all that stuff. So anyway, so that's me, and that is my knitting journey. Just a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Jessie. I am 25. I'll be 26 in about a week and a half here. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 3 years, and we bought a house last year. We have an 18-month-old bulldog. His name is Thor. I love him. I really do. But he is, he's a bowling ball. And so I will be happy to show him on the podcast. He's not here with me right now. He's actually at the, he's being boarded because we were gone this weekend. But anyway, I will show him on the show at future dates, but it will be limited because he has a tendency of he has bowl in china shops sometimes. He's probably one of the higher maintenance, higher active bulldogs I've ever met. Such a goofball. So anyway, so eventually you'll get to meet him. Let's see what else. I am currently in a master's program. I'm working on my master's degree in education, and I'm also working towards my initial teaching license. I want to teach middle school science, preferably life science, but I'll teach physical or earth or pretty much whatever they'll let me teach. Eventually, I would like to get a dual endorsement so that I can teach math because I have a huge love of math. Let's see, part-time I work at a local steakhouse. And I say part-time, but really it's like over full-time. I work a lot. Like I said, my Ravelry username is Hokey Knits. I am a 2010 Virginia Tech graduate. I love my alma mater. My boyfriend and I have season football tickets, and I get down to Blacksburg just about as often as I can. We have VT stuff everywhere. So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. I knit, I cross stitch, and I read a lot less than I used to because I can't read and knit at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty much about me, and we'll get to know each other as things go on. My plans for the podcast, because I'm still a relatively slow knitter, I think that I'm only going to record every 2 weeks. Tuesdays are typically a pretty good day for me, so we'll probably do recording on Tuesdays. And that may change. You just never know. Such is life. So yeah. So a week in review. Oh gosh, guys. It's been a rough week. A little bit. Personally. So last week, one of the bartenders that I work with passed away. Pretty suddenly. She's my age. And she passed away in a car accident. And so it's been really hard. Not necessarily for me personally because I knew her, but I wasn't very close to her. But some of the people that I work with have taken it really hard. And it's just she's so young and just her whole life ahead of her, and she had a family, she had 2 young boys, and so if you have a moment in your day to just say or send warm thoughts to her husband and her boys and her family and just everybody that's really, really affected by the loss. I know that it would be appreciated. It's a pretty rough time. This weekend, we went down to Blacksburg to Virginia Tech to run/walk. I'm not quite a runner. The 3.2 mile run in remembrance. This year marks 7 years since the April 16th tragedy at Virginia Tech, where 32 students and faculty were killed. It's a beautiful, beautiful event. I mean, 8,000 people signed up to do it this year, which was pretty record-breaking for the event, and we had fantastic weather, and, people are just remembering the people that were lost and taking time out of their day to think of somebody else, think of their families, put life aside and what may be stressors for you to just forget about it and just walk and reflect on everything. And so it was really fantastic. My boyfriend, basically his entire family came down, and so that constituted my boyfriend and I, his mom, his dad, my boyfriend's brother and sister-in-law, and their 3 kids, and they have a 10-year-old, an almost 3-year-old, and an almost 1-year-old, and they all did the walk. And then my boyfriend's other brother, his girlfriend, some of our tailgate friends, like it was a huge group of people, and we all got together, and it was fantastic. And it was a really, really good day. I meant to show you the t-shirt that I got, because I got a t-shirt this year, which it's really hard to do. You have to be one of the first, I think, 1,000 or 500 people to sign up to do the walk in order to get a t-shirt, and I managed to get one this year. But it's in the hamper or something. So anyway, so that was my weekend. And that's pretty much it. I had class last night. I'm taking a class on a survey of special education, and it is probably one of my favorite classes I've taken my entire grad school program. The professor's fantastic, and I get so happy going to that class, because we talk about a lot of ways to teach kids who have disabilities, and research breakthroughs, and it's good. There's a lot of struggle in special education, and I'm a general educator, and so I have my own litany of struggles with relation to special education, but it's just a positive class, and so I really, really enjoyed that. And that's basically it. That was my week. So some ups and some downs. And so we will see what the rest of the week has. Unfortunately, the weather, and I'm looking out my window that's over here, is not cooperating. I live in Central Virginia, and it is the middle of April, the very, very middle of April. And our forecast for this evening said the dreaded S word, snow. And I'm so done with winter. My birthday is the end of April, and I am so over this winter. It's, I don't want snow on my birthday. And it's supposed to be spring. We had a couple of days that were 80 and above, and it was beautiful, and I was like, yes, we're finally getting there. And then we have this cold front that came in, and we're talking about snow for this evening. I guess it's not supposed to accumulate, but still, it's just like, ugh. If we could just keep moving. Let's get the seasons going, Okay, so let's talk about knitting, huh? It's a knitting podcast, and we're almost 15 minutes in. Okay, so recent finishes. This is my first episode, and so I have finishes, but I'm not going to show them to you because they were finishes from several weeks ago, and And, we'll start here. This is the starting point. So, my works in progress. I have 3 projects on the needles right now, and they're pretty much all at the same stage of finish. About, I want to say, 20 to 25% complete if I'm being generous. So the first one I have is a pattern that's gotten a lot of attention these days, or at least the last couple of weeks or so, and that is the Hitchhiker by Martina Bem. And this is mine. This is where I'm at. So I counted this morning. I think I'm at 17 teeth. So I guess I'm almost 50% of the way through with this one, but as you progress, the teeth just get longer and longer. So that's that. And this is this little shawlette comes with a bit of a story. So this, well, first let me tell you some details. This is knit with Leading Men Fiber Arts in their Showstopper base, which is a fingering weight, 75% merino, 25% nylon. The colorway is No Good Deed, and here it is in a very messy ball. The pup got to it. He didn't bite it or anything, but he kind of batted it around, and that just led to just absolute disarray. So let me just tell you this quick story. Oh, real quickly. These are on my US size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles. These are Knit Picks Novas, the interchangeables, and it's on my great big long cable because I'm gonna need it, I think. And so that's that. So the story behind this. So a couple weeks ago, my brother and I went to New York City to go see Wicked on Broadway, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. He's already seen the show, but I've wanted to for a long time, and he got us tickets for Christmas. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get some souvenir yarn, and I looked on KnitMap for yarn shops that were relatively close to the Gershwin Theater, which is where Wicked was showing. And to be quite honest, I couldn't find anything that was open. I couldn't find anything that would have been open at the right times. We were there all day Saturday. We got in, I think, around 11 o'clock Saturday morning, and we left the city at 9 p.m. Saturday night. But the timing, it was just all off. And so I was like, well, that's a bummer. So in the meantime, I am watching the Dramatic Knits podcast with Steve from Leading Men Fiber Arts and Callie. And they were doing a shop update, and they showed No Good Deed. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is Wicked in a ball of yarn. This is fantastic, because it's got the dark purples and the green for Elphaba and the just fantastically bright pinks, and I was like, this is just perfect. And so I called my brother and I was like, Matt, listen, I just found the perfect yarn and I'm gonna make something awesome. And it is called No Good Deed, and it's beautiful and it looks just like Wicked. And he's like, Jess, did you know that No Good Deed is one of the songs in Wicked? And I was like, yeah, I had no idea. I was going into the show just totally blind. I didn't want to know things or more than the obvious, like Christian Chenoweth and everything associated with it. But I was like, that's fantastic. And it was in my cart, and it was on my way to my house in about 3.7 seconds flat. And so I did some pattern searching, and I was like, I'm gonna do a hitchhiker. And so here we are. Let's show it again. And I think it's working out pretty great. I really, really, really wanted to get it done in time for the show, but there's just no way. I was still a really slow knitter, and you know, what are you going to do? So anyway, so that's that work in progress. Set that over there. Okay. The next one that I started, I'm calling this episode the episode of first. It's just all kinds of perfect. So that is my first shawl. This here is my first sweater. And ever since I started knitting, I wanted to do a sweater. I want to be able to knit clothes for myself. And I love sweaters and I love cardigans. And so after lots of pattern searching and yarn indecision and whatnot, I decided to cast on this is the Eggnog by Thea Coleman, or Baby Cocktails. This is a $6 pattern on Ravelry, and I'll just show you where I'm at. So this is a top-down sweater, and it's got raglan sleeves, and so this here is the collar that lays right on the shoulder. And then, see if I can show you this. So you can see I'm working on the sleeve increases right there. And I am knitting this. I debated for forever on what yarn I was going to use. You know, I wanted to use a Mantash, but I sort of reconciled that this is my first sweater, and so I didn't want to use luxury yarn. I didn't want to use super, super nice yarn, just in case it went bananas. And so I instead went with it's a really nice yarn. It's just not as pricey. And so it is Knit Picks Swish Worsted. Worsted weight, it's 100% merino. And it is the Dove colorway. Not really sure if it's getting that right. Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. And I got, I think, 9 balls altogether. And this here is what's left of the third ball. The first ball went really quickly because I was doing swatching. And so yeah. So that's that. And I am knitting this on US 10s. It's 6 millimeters. Also the Knit Picks Novas interchangeables. And it's going really great. I really, really love knitting it. I love the fabric. It's so squishy and fantastic. I can't wait to wear it. And I don't even care if it's 110 degrees when I'm done, because I'm still going to wear it. So that's that. I'm having a lot of fun learning a bunch of new stitches, like this collar here. It's a smocked rib. And so there's, you know, yarn overs and slipping stitches, and then there's the make ones for the sleeve increases. So I'm having a ball with it, and I'm really excited about it. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about, the pattern suggests an 8 to 9 size needle, and like I said before, I'm a little bit of a tight knitter, and I knew when I swatched with the US 9s that I was going to be off gauge, but you know, I did it anyway just to make sure. I blocked it, and I really, really liked the fabric that resulted. But I am so new at knitting that my mind was just like, I can't even grasp how to do the math to try to adjust so that I could still use the US 9s and get that fabric that I liked so much. So I went up 2 needle sizes to the 10s because I wanted to get gauge, and so I got gauge with the 10s. And so I'm just knitting the size. I figure it's a cardigan, and so it's not, you know, it doesn't need to be super fitted. So this cardigan, I'm going to show you the picture of it. It's just got really, really long fronts, so you can wear it a bunch of different ways. You can pin it up to the side. or just wear it down loose. And I really like that. I like multi-use. So let me see here so I can show this to you. And I'm just going to zoom in on the picture so you're not getting anything that you're not supposed to. So you see the really, really long fronts there? So that's that. And then it's really short in the back, which I think is kind of cute. So these are a bunch of different ways you can wear it. So that's that. And so that is the eggnog. And I really like the pattern. I like the way it was written. I like that she's pretty candid in the pattern writing. And so now I've added a whole bunch of Via Coleman sweaters to my library. But that's okay. So that's that one. I think I told you everything about that. Yep, okay. And then the last one is a new start. Relatively new. I think I cast it on Friday. And it is in my only knitting bag. I'm working on building up my stash of these, but it's bulldogs! How cute. That one kind of looks like my Thor, although Thor doesn't really have a tail. But similar coloring. And this bag I found on Etsy, and it is by Zoe Designs. And I'll be sure to link her in the show notes. But it's just a sock size project bag. And this is for the, I watched the Fibertown podcast, and April is Autism Awareness Month, and so we're doing a craft along for the month of April and May. And basically you can work on a project of your desire, as long as the yarn is, or the fabric, so you can weave, knit, spin, crochet, as long as it's at least 2 or 3 bright colors. And it's officially called the It's Okay to Be Different craft along. And so I also know that autism awareness, the color associated with autism awareness is blue. And so I wanted to find like a bright blue multicolored yarn, and I found it. And I'm really excited about it. So this is the second ball. I had a knot, and so I had to cut it and create a second ball. And this is Manos del Uruguay in the Alegría base. So that is 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's fingering weight. And the colorway is called Colibri, which I don't know what that means, but nonetheless, that's what it is. So here's the Alegría, little yarn sample tag, and so there's that. And so I really like this yarn for this project because there's lots of blues. You know, there's that ice blue and the purple, and even the white is a bright color, and then there's the deep, deep dark blue, and then there's some lighter, just like the very definition of blue in there. And so I was a little apprehensive about using this yarn because, you know, like the dark blue and the purple are those really bright colors, but I got the go-ahead from Fibertown, so that's that. And so I cast it on Friday, and this is where I am at. So the sockhead hat, I hope I said that. Okay, well this is the sockhead hat by Kelly McClure. It's free pattern on Ravelry. There we go, we said it. So as you can see, I'm at just under 4 inches of ribbing, and I think I'm going to go to the full 4 inches because I like the idea of that super wide brim. And I really, really like how it's turning out. It's bright and colorful and fantastic. And so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna keep going on this and hopefully get started on the miles and miles of stockinette here in a little bit. This is knit on US size 3s, 3.25 millimeters. I had attempted to I'm going to get distracted here. I better put that down. I attempted to start the socket hat using Knit Picks chroma fingering, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, it was super frustrating. I tried a bunch of different cast-ons. I tried the tubular cast-on, and I just gave it up. And honestly, I think that the yarn and I just don't get along. So that's fine. And so now I'm doing it with this Manos, and I love it, and I cannot wait to wear it. And I'm hoping that this will be a finished object for the next podcast. We shall see. So that's all I have on my needles, quite a bit. Nothing terribly close to finishing, but, you know, still working. So then, what's up next? What am I going to do next? 2014 is the year of the blanket. Apparently. A friend of mine is going to have a baby in September, and she doesn't know the gender yet. And I was like, I'm going to knit you a blanket. And she was like, okay, but I don't like the neutral colors. Like, I don't like greens and yellows as neutral colors. I'm like, really? You're going to make this hard on me? So I thought about it and I contemplated it. I'm like, you know, do I wait until she finds out what it is to start? Or do I find an alternative? And I discovered an alternative. So I am going to knit a brown blanket. I'm using, I don't have it with me to show you, but it is like a dark chocolatey brown. It's called Cordovan, and it is, the colorway is, and it's Malarigo sock, I think. Gosh, I hope so. Anyway, so I'm going to knit a baby blanket in that, and then the bordering, I'm going to do a bunch of eyelets, and then when she finds out what the baby is, I'm going to string satin ribbon through the eyelets to give it a color. And so I figure pink and brown go together, blue and brown go together, you know, like it'll look cute. And so the basis for the blanket is the Twinkle Twinkle blanket, and it is by Helen Stewart. And I'll pull up a picture real quick so you can see it. I'm probably gonna have to do the edging a little differently, just because there are some eyelets in it, but I think I'm gonna have to do the border. The edging is what I meant, the border. The eyelets, there are built-in eyelets in this blanket, but I think I'm gonna have to do bigger eyelets, and so I'll have to modify it a little bit. But so there is that. Let's see if I can. Here we go. I really, really like this stitch pattern because it's got the little stars in it. It's really pretty. So I'm going to cast that on here ASAP because, like I said, I only have until September, and it's a blanket. Speaking of blankets, my mom isn't one of those people that collects things. In fact, she's a big fan of throwing things away. And so her tastes are pretty, there's a fine line, there's a range. And so for a long time I've been doing cross stitch, and I did a cross stitch for my stepdad for Christmas, and I'm working on one for somebody else in my family, but I sort of got the hint that my mom's like she's not jazzed up about cross stitch. She's not super excited about it. And I think it's because it serves no purpose, like functional purpose. So, you know, it's just something to look at. Can't do anything with it. And it has to have a use. So I was like, you know, I'm not gonna do some cross stitch for her that she's not gonna appreciate. You know, it's time consuming, it can be pricey, you know. Not gonna do that. So I started knitting, and I asked her, I said, I know that you and cross stitch, not so much, but I like to knit you something. And that's fantastic. I would love for you to knit me something. She said, what are you going to knit me? And I said, well, what do you want? And she said, you know, there's something that I want. And I'm thinking she's thinking a sweater, because she's always cold. It doesn't matter what temperature it is outside. She's thinking socks, she's thinking slippers, she's thinking anything. And the first word that comes out of her mouth is a throw blanket. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? So, you know, I have to do what she wants. You know, it's what she's after. She has a throw blanket that one of her employees made for her, but it's crocheted, and so it has a lot of holes in it. And she said it's not, I mean, you know, it's nice, but it's not really effective at keeping me warm. I'm like, okay, so I have to find a knitted blanket that doesn't have much of a lace pattern, so it's just going to be solid knitting on this blanket. Thanks, Mom. I'm like, well, I'll see you in 2016 with this blanket. You know, it's going to take me forever. But I am getting better at knitting, and so I think that Christmas might be an achievable goal. Maybe. Maybe her birthday next year. Her birthday's the day after mine, and so maybe I have a year to work on it. We'll see. And so I did some research, and I was debating between the Omaro Throw by Jared Flood, and the one that I actually picked was the Hourglass Throw by Ann Hansen. And I guess I'll show you a picture of that one too, because why not? Where are you? Uh-oh. I don't have it in my iBooks library. Oh, look at that. I opened Safari and Ravelry's already up. Sorry guys, I know this is no fun, watching me click around on my iPad. So this is the Hourglass Throw. And so it's got some cabling and some lace design, but not a whole lot. And I think it's gonna be just gorgeous. So then I started thinking about yarn. And I'm like, this is for my mom. And I'm not going to be knitting her lots of blankets over the years. You know, like this is going to be like a one-time and done kind of a thing. So she better take darn good care of it. And so I wanted to get something that was nice. I didn't want to break the bank on it. But I wanted to find something good. Something soft and something that will give the illusion of high luxury, if that makes any sense. And so one of my favorite yarns is Madeline Tosh. And so that brings me to, which is ironic because I haven't used Madeline Tosh in anything yet. So that brings me to my enabling. Like I said, this is like fresh start day one, and so I'm not going to show you all of the stash that I have, or the enabling, the recent enabling. But I will just show you what I got yesterday, and then we'll start from there. And talking about Mom's blanket kind of segues into that pretty fantastically. So this is what I got, and I have a whole box here with all of them. So this, let's see if I can cut some of that light out. Nope, it just is what it is, which is okay because it's pretty close to color. This is Tosh Vintage. It's 100% superwash merino, worsted weight, and this is the antler colorway. So it's like a pale cream, whitish colorway, which I ordered it, and then I thought that might have been a mistake because, you know, she's gonna have to really take care of this blanket, and white isn't exactly a you know, it's not friendly for minor messes. You know, she's a really clean person, but she also has a dog, and things happen. So, but it's fine because I told her about the yarn. She asked me about it. She said, you know, what yarn did you pick? And so I showed it to her, and she's like, ooh, that looks good. So yeah. So I have, well, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to show them all. I'm There's 8 skeins there. And so I'm hoping that's enough. It should be. It should be just fine to do just a throw. I'm not going to do the, there's 3 sizes in the pattern, and so you can do the baby blanket size, the throw, or the bed coverlet. So I'm going to do the throw. And so I'll cast that on probably once I finish my sweater. I think I'm going to cast on the baby blanket here pretty soon, just because I have a very, very close deadline for that. So yeah, so that's that. So I watch a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that I noticed that my favorites do is that they talk about things other than knitting. And so here in the last few minutes, I'd like to talk about something other than knitting that is interesting to me. And I contemplated talking about education topics because education is really important to me. But I decided to go with something that we can all relate to and something that is a long-time love of mine, which is reading. And so here at the end of the podcast, I'm just going to talk about what I'm reading and what I think about it, and maybe give you a short synopsis of things. And yeah, so this is the Jessie Reads portion of our podcast. And so I'm currently reading, officially, 2 books. And they are both big, chunky books. Great big books. So the first one is A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. This is book 4 in the Song of Ice and Fire. And I started this back in January. And as you can see, I'm not very far. I'm reading really, really slow these days. Partially because of work, partially because of knitting, partially because, you know, it takes some time to read these books. So anyway, like I said, it's the 4th book, and I love this series. I love it so much that this series supposedly stops at 7 books, and I don't know what I'm going to do afterwards. You know, we still have probably 10 years before the series is complete. But, oh, it's so good. The world is so big, and the characters there's so many characters, and there's villains and good guys, and sometimes the villains are good guys, and sometimes the good guys are villains, and George Martin has absolutely no qualms about killing off your favorite character, and there's cliffhangers and heart-stopping moments, and I've cried, I've laughed, I've had the entire gamut of emotions reading this series, and so, yeah, this is really good. If you haven't seen the show, because the HBO show is on, or read the books, and you're interested in fantasy, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I know that I should just get in line with people who recommend this series, but honestly, so good. So good. The next one that I have is, it's young adult. I read a lot of young adult. And this book just came out last Tuesday. And I have been waiting this book for over a year. And it is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the 3rd and final book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. This is a chunky book as well. And this is also a fantasy series. This one takes place on Earth and also in another plane. And essentially there are 3 races of existing beings. There are humans, there are angels, and there are chimera, which are like blended beasts. And the chimera and the angels have been at war forever. Forever. For absolutely ever. And it's absolutely forbidden that they intermingle. And this story essentially chronicles a girl named Caro who falls in love with an angel. And all of the shenanigans that come come along with that. I don't want to spoil anything because I really think that you should go read this series if you're interested. But it's fantastic, and the writing, it kind of blows my mind sometimes, like how gorgeous her writing is. Like every word has its place, and she's witty, and she calls to light things that most people wouldn't notice, and she has relationship dynamics down. Like, you can recognize relationship dynamics in people, but to write that and to portray it, it blows my mind. And then, of course, there's the fantasy aspect, which is equally just super cool and intriguing, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm taking my time reading that book on purpose because once this book is over, then the series is over, and that kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Not gonna lie about that. So that's that. And, so yeah, that's all I'm reading. And that brings me to the end of this first episode. Yay! So at this point, I will bid you all adieu, and I will see you here in a couple weeks or so. I am going to set up a Ravelry group, so be sure to look for that. It will be the Jessie Knits Podcast. No, not the Jessie Knits Podcast. Just Jessie Knits Podcast. And set up some threads so we can start talking and chatting back and forth. Eventually I would like to do some giveaways, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, alright guys, I will talk to you later, and happy knitting.